slide down this way so you don't get your head.
in the frame.
Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Sherry. I'm part of the Green team, which consists of Mark Bree, Matt Baltimore, Mike Moon, and myself. We are working with the aerator mixing station. Here's an overview of what we're going to talk about today. I'll talk about our system and our steady-state operating curve, the step response analysis, as well as the FOPDT modeling and analysis, and then the sine and relay experiments, and the newest addition, which is the Locus plot. And now here's a input-output diagram of our system. The input is the motor power in percent, and then the output, the control variable, is the drive speed and revolution per minute. Here's a schematic of the system, which consists of a speed transmitter, speed recording controller, and a speed controller, which tells the motor how fast to go. Switch to gearbox, which reduces the ratio, and then drives the mixer, which, fun fact for today, provides, it aerates the water for bugs that process the wastewater. Here's one of the graphs we have for the steady state. The blue portion is the transients, and then the red is the steady state region. This is for 5% input, which corresponds to a output of 75 RPM plus or minus about 12. This is the steady state operating curve for our system. It's very linear in all regions, which corresponds to an output of 0 to 1740 RPM, and there's very small uncertainty as seen by the error bars, which you can see. Here's a step response from 5 to 25%. The blue is the input, and red is the output. This is for a 20% step, and which corresponds to a 350% increase in output. From this, we can find the gain, which was 17.4 RPM per percent. This is, after that, we were able to find T0 and tau graphically. T0 is the dead time and the amount of time it takes for the output to respond to the input. So tau is the amount of time it takes for the step to reach 62.3% of the magnitude step. Same thing for the step down. We found DMDC, and we were able to find K, which is also 17.4% for this region. We also went on to find T0 and tau once again, and it was the same as for the step up. T0 was 0.1 and tau was 0.4 seconds. These results for K for all of our steady state analysis, pretty consistent throughout, except for this region right here. We're not exactly sure what happened. For the dead time, it was consistent throughout. It was about 0.1 seconds. Tau is a different story, however, when it was kind of all over the place. It was pretty consistent within experiments for the first three ranges, but in this one it was different for the step up and step down. For our first order plus dead time model, this is the manipulated variable, the input. This is our output. These are mathematical representation outputs. Here's the model along with the experimental data placed on top of it. We adjusted the model to match the experimental data to give us these parameters right here. A, input and output were placed in there for the model. And then K, T0, and tau were adjusted to match them. For this one, K was 17.4 RPM, T0 was 0.12, and then tau was 0.2. This works the same way, except it's step down instead of step up. K was once again 17.4, T0 was 0.12, and tau was 0.2 seconds. So both the step up and step down, these variables right here were consistent. These were just placed in there to get the model. These are the ones that we changed to match the data.
What are you saying?
Overall, the gain was fairly consistent, except for a few outliers right here and right here. Other than that, it hovered about the 7 to 4 range. For dead time, the even more apparent in this one, but these are such small numbers that they're kind of hard to measure graphically, so we expected the model to be a little bit different. Overall, K and T naught from the model and graphical methods agreed pretty closely, but tau was a different story. Did not agree very well with it. For the sine response, this is our block diagram. Consists of input and output, same as steady state, and this is our transfer function. These are the mathematical representations for our input and output. The input is a sine wave, and so the output is also a sine wave. This is one of the frequency response experiments at 1/2 of a hertz. The amplitude ratio was found by dividing the output by the input amplitude, and was about 15.69 plus or minus 0.03. The phase angle tells us how much the output is lagging from the input, and for this one it's about 38 degrees plus or minus 5. Here's a Bode plot for the experimental data. K turned out to be about 17.6, tau is 0.17, and T naught is 0.3. This is for the 50 to 75% range. And then FU and KCU were found by corresponding the phase angle of -180, and then going up here and finding the frequency. The frequency is 3.2 hertz, and then the ultimate controller gain was 0.4 RPM per percent. And the slope of this region right here gave us the order, and it tells us that's about a second order system. This is the same thing, except for the 75-100% range. Numbers here are a little bit different, but the FU and KCU were fairly similar, and then the order is the same. This is another Bode plot, but this one has the model and experimental data on the same graph. The model are the lines, and the experimental data are the points. For the 50 to 75% range, it was K was 17.3, T naught was 0.09, and tau was 0.6. And for the 75 to 100% range, K was 17.1, T naught was 0.6, tau was 0.7. So here's a comparison of the gain. They were pretty consistent within ranges and compared to each other. Dead time, however, was a different story. The experiment seems to be a bit higher than the model. Time constant, however, was pretty consistent with each other, within ranges and among ranges. This is one of our relay experiments. It consists of a set point and an input that is a square wave. Once the output reaches the set point, then the input changes to adjust the output to match the set point. Here's a comparison of K amongst the frequency and relay response. The frequency response seems to be a little bit higher. And this is comparing the tau between the frequency and relay response. For this one, the relay response gave us a higher tau. For dead time, they were close to the same, not too much error. Overall, the frequency experiment more closely agrees with what we found in previous experiments than the relay does. For our first order plus dead time system, this is the transfer function. Then after substituting today's approximation and simplifying, it becomes this huge nasty equation right here. Transfer function for a proportional feedback controller is given by this equation right here. And for an FOPDT system with proportional control, the OLTF becomes this, from which we can find the characteristic equation. Setting the characteristic equation equal to 0 will give us roots that are complex conjugate pairs, which will give us a root locus plot. The root locus plot can tell you your range of ultimate controller gains for your system. This is for the 0 to 25% range. This is for the 25 to 50% range. And then in the 50 to 75% range, the controller range is changed from about 0.07 to 0.26% per RPM. Anything above the ultimate controller gain, the system can become unstable and start oscillating rapidly. The KCD will give you zero, pretty much zero overshoot. And this is what we consider to be the best representation for our whole system. It was taken from the sine experiments in the Bodie plot, and they range from about 0.023 to 0.31. Excuse me, that was for the 75 to 100% range, my bad. For the KCU comparison amongst the root locus relay frequency experiments, they're pretty consistent through here, except for this guy right here. We don't know exactly what happens. That came from one of the relay experiment parameters to get that root locus. The ultimate frequencies, they were not very consistent. The root locus ultimate frequencies were consistently higher than the elements. This is the control range we consider best for our system, which goes from 0.018% RPM to 0.28% RPM. The 1/4, 1/10, and 1/500 decay are common desirable options for customers, and so we found the corresponding gain for each of those. In conclusion, the SSOC shows a linear correlation between input power and speed. The operating range of the system is 0 to 100%, which corresponds to an input range of 0 to 740 RPM. The gain of the system is equal to the slope of the steady-state operating curve, and the experimental model results match pretty closely. The dead time is pretty consistent throughout those experiments. From the Bodie plots, we found that our system is a second-order system, and from the first-order plus dead time experiments, we found that these are the best parameters for our system. A K consisting of 17.3 RPM per percent, a tau of 0.2, and a T naught of 0.1. The KCU was about 0.3% for RPM from the root locus model, and agreed with what was found from our previous experiments. The FU, however, did not agree very well with what we found when we came to that. So for our controller range, the best ones that we found so far are 0.018% RPM to about 0.28% RPM. And that concludes my presentation on the aerator mixer station. Are there any questions? Do I get to pick who goes next?
Somebody in purple. Who has to leave it for 3?
Me.
You giving a presentation, Drew? Say it again.
You never have reviewed it, but I've sent you guys this morning.
So, you gonna give a presentation? Y'all okay over there?
We're good, I'm sorry, I was trying to fix
You wanna wait till tomorrow, Drew?
Do what, sir?
You wanna wait till tomorrow?
You told us before you need to review it.
Oh, he has
It
others.
doesn't matter to me.
Yes,
Oh, you reviewed the wrong presentation of ours, by the way.
Say it again.
You reviewed last time's presentation,
Yeah.
and I emailed you
Yeah,
the
yeah,
presentation. Okay.
When did you email it? 1:30 this morning?
Yeah, yeah.
And when did you email it?